Hikaru, thanks for doing this interview. First, congratulations with winning your second title in Gibraltar.
Thanks.
How does it feel?
It certainly feels good. I felt like I was, from the start to finish, I was certainly in the hunt. To say, I mean, I think I was on board two or board one the entire event. So it was pretty smooth for the most part. I think there was one game yesterday which I was in some trouble, but otherwise I was never really in any danger. So overall, it felt quite good, and I felt that I played to a pretty high level throughout.
I was wondering, when was the previous time you actually played an open tournament?
Well, okay, a strong open tournament. I'm not even sure. It's probably something like the World Open, maybe in like 2010 or 2011, probably, if I had to guess. But for the most part, I haven't been playing Open since then. So certainly it's a bit of a change, but it's also kind of nice. I mean, you get to play some new people, new faces, and just in general, you don't. It's not the same people over and over again. So therefore, there's more variety, more openings, and it's much more interesting on a certain level.
And it seems to be a bit of a trend these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays actually what you're having is you have so many people over 2,700 that there aren't enough invitations to go around. And I think because of this now there's some overflow where people are starting to play in the Opens more. And I mean, I think that applies to all the top players for that matter. I think Kramnik and Geary played in was it Qatar, I think it was. And then, well, so won the Millionaire Chess, of course. So I think it's just a case there's so many people over 2,700 and there aren't enough invitation-only tournaments, so that's why you have people playing the Opens now, which is good. I think it's very good.
And there was even a 2,800 here.
Oh, right, yeah, Topolov, right, yeah, I forgot about that, yeah. No, I think anytime you have top players, it's good. It's good for everyone.
So, yeah, people were wondering, of course, you were not in Wijk, but you did play in this one. Was this a personal choice, or what was behind that?
Yeah, okay, I mean, I wasn't officially invited to Wijk, so I mean, it's not as though I officially declined. But I think the organizers were quite aware that I had intentions to play here some months ago, in fact. So in general, it was just a personal choice. I think I've played in Wijk, 4 or 5 years in a row. So certainly I kind of wanted a change of scenery. And also I did win here in 2008. I believe it was 2008. I won the tournament here in Gibraltar. So it was kind of, I wanted to come back and play again. And everything worked out. But I mean, I'm sure I'll be back in Wijk again in the future as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, this is a very social event, and many players actually joined this tournament bringing their partner, including you. Does this help you in any way to stay positive, to keep the vibe going?
Well, I'm not sure actually, because obviously I had a great tournament. My significant other had a pretty bad tournament, so. I mean, I think in general, though, certainly when you're in a place like Gibraltar, there's much more to do. The weather's much nicer. I mean, Wijk aan Zee, it's the weather tends to be pretty gloomy, to say the least. And so, for the most part, it's all about chess. I mean, you play your game, and then maybe you go to one of the, like 3 or 4 nice restaurants, the fixtures. In Wijk aan Zee, and then you go to sleep, and you just do that over and over again for pretty much 3 weeks. And here, of course, you have the opportunities to go down to the water, to the Strait of Gibraltar, to go into the city. You just have a lot more options here, and when you add in the good weather, in many ways, it feels like a vacation. So, I think that's probably why a lot of people, myself included, didn't come here on our own. But as far as the tournament itself, I think these days I'm much happier. I've been much happier the past few months than the past couple of years. So I think it's just an overall trend for me. Great
to hear that. In fact, this is your second win in Gib. First time was in 2008. I was here too, by the way, that year. What do you think is the biggest difference in your play in those 8 years, or 7 years?
Well, I mean, there are a few things. I think, you know, when I won in 2008, I had a pretty remarkable streak. I think did I lose 2 games early, or was it just 1 in a draw? And at any rate, I dropped 1.5 or 2 points in the first 5 rounds, and then I won 5 in a row to make it into the playoff. I think I lost 2 actually, but you know, I think at that time, kind of it was much more carefree when I played the tournament. I didn't worry about rating. It's kind of you just play your openings, you play what you know, and you go from there. And I think nowadays, you know, it's what, that was 7 years ago. Everyone's everyone's much better prepared now, and in general, you know, you kind of approach it with, or at least I approach it with the mentality of, in some cases you really have to take risks to try and beat the lower players. Whereas, you know, when I was just I don't know, 2650, whatever I was at the time, kind of, you just go in and you play. Like, none of these thoughts creep into your head. I mean, it's like you play some opening, you know, it might be equal, but if it's equal, it's equal. Whereas now, like, when you play some of these openings, sometimes I think, like, okay, but maybe that's not enough to get an advantage or to try and win. So it's kind of I think the whole mindset's different, certainly with where I'm at now. As far as overall play, I think I'm a much more rounded player. I think back then it was pretty much win at all costs. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't take risks anymore, but it's kind of without the objectivity. So it's kind of, you know, whatever you do to get the result, but the quality didn't matter so much. And now I think I still, obviously I took some risks to win some of the games, but I felt that it was controlled. It wasn't just completely insane and crazy where anything was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. How disappointed were you that you didn't win that Vancouver Rook ending?
Well, I mean, I'm not so upset that I didn't win the actual ending there, because I mean it had been going on for a long time. I was quite tired, but you know, you have to look at the bigger picture, and certainly I think, you know, there were other games in this tournament that I won. I think the critical one that I won was against Topolov, which objectively I never should have won. So in many ways it all balances out, and you know, it would have been nice to win against Howell, but you know, the luck's going to even out somewhere along the line. You know, I win against Howell, maybe I don't beat the Chinese guy next round, and then suddenly it's you know, it's very similar to what happened in fact in the tournament. So you know, I was disappointed because I felt that, you know, I missed a few quite easy wins in that end game, but nevertheless, you know, it happens, and still, I mean, it's hard to be greedy. I mean, when you're on +6 at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do you think such a positive result at the very start of the year can sort of catapult you a little bit into having a good year overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually that's one of the biggest problems with 2014 is that I started off really, really badly. I mean, actually, I started off well. I think I won my first game last year against Neidich and Vike, and I think I was probably right around where I am now, but then the wheels kind of came off, you know, in the rest of that tournament. And then Zurich, of course, you know, well, we all know what happened in Zurich. I don't even need to mention that. So you know, it was difficult because I was already off to a bad start, so I was kind of trying to play catch up and get back rating points and just play well, and I'd already lost about 2.5 months of the year. So I think certainly it's a good start, but I think Zurich is going to be quite a big test because all the top players will be back. It'll be a round robin, so it'll be back to the usual kind of event. And but certainly I'm optimistic, and I think I mean I really couldn't have expected more from this event, so obviously I'm happy.
Very good. Let's look ahead a little bit more. I think after Zurich, your next event will be the US Championship. Mm-hmm. The players were announced, I think, 2 days ago, and you and Wesley and Gada and basically everybody's playing this year, which is great. I guess you're also looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's kind of like this tournament. I don't think I've played the US well, not as long, but I don't think I've played the US Championship for like 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. I'm losing track of time. So it'll be nice to play, and obviously with so many strong players in the field, it should certainly be a good event. So I always like playing in St. Louis, and I'm sure it'll be a great event. And
I guess it will also be a little bit about your rivalry with Wesley So. You passed him again on the rating list during this tournament, so now you're back to being US #1. So what do you how does it balance out? I guess it has very positive effects. You will have an even stronger Olympic team, for example. There is also more competition for you now. So yeah, how do you feel about things are going?
Okay, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't say it's a rivalry. We haven't really played that many times, you know. People like to talk about my results with Magnus, and you know, I don't think you can call it a rivalry because I've lost so many games to him. And I would say the same thing, you know. We played that match, and I beat him quite soundly. So I would say look at the result before calling it a rivalry. At any rate, it's obviously good for the Olympiad, but I have my own personal reservations, and that I think it's on one hand not so good, in that, well, it's good for competition. It's bad for some of the rising players in America who aren't going to have the chance to get invitations. Some of the players, like the Shanklins or the Robsons, they really aren't going to have opportunities unless they pick up a lot of points. So it's good and bad. Nevertheless, certainly as far as playing the U.S. Championship, it gives me more competition and a reason to compete. So yeah, there's good and bad, is my take.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and after that is basically your event of the year, I guess. You're going to Khanty-Mansiysk, Siberia, and
right.
And your last Grand Prix. Yeah, this is going to be a big one. Any idea how you're going to prepare for that? Yeah, take a lot of rest or not?
I mean, I'll have some time, because I guess the U.S. Championship ends sometime in mid-April, and I think Khanty-Mansiysk is the middle of May, so I should have about a month. Certainly, it's by far and away the most important tournament of the year. I could do horribly in the U.S. Championship, and I would be fine with that if I can qualify for the candidates. So I'll certainly, I guess I would say I'll put in maybe more effort for that event than some of the others possibly, although obviously I'll study for all the events. But nevertheless, I just have to get the result there. So I'll just do whatever I can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and yeah. Then there's also the news basically that you have signed up for the Millionaire Chess in October. Mm-hmm. That's going to be interesting as well. Another open tournament. What made you decide to play this event this year?
Well, I think I made a comment earlier when there was the commentary. I think Simon Williams said, I had a nice payday, or I made quite a bit of money, and I said something like, you don't play for the money, you play because of the quality. In the case of this other turn, in the case of the Millionaire Chess, it's the exact opposite reason. I'm playing because there's big prize money there, and there's really no good reason not to. When I think there are 3 or 4 2,700 players registered, so I didn't see a reason not to play. I mean, why not? And especially, I think I registered after maybe the 6th or 7th round here, and playing an open and doing well, I kind of feel inspired to play some more opens.
Very good. Any other events this year planned? Maybe some non-chess
yeah,
things?
Well, as far as chess goes, I mean, okay, Topalov kind of made this big comment about this Grand Prix thing.
About Norway, St. Louis, and London.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, I assume I'll probably qualify for that, so I'll probably have a few tournaments to play there as well. But that's, yeah, I mean, my year's pretty clear-cut, so just have to do what I can, and I think good things will happen.
Another Reddit AMA, perhaps?
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see, probably.
And what about Chess.com? Of course, you're a frequent guest at our site. We are a silent sponsor. Any plans for this year to do things on the side? Maybe play a Title Tuesday? Or?
Oh, I think, I mean, you can guarantee that I'll play a Title Tuesday. I think, I've seen my picture on that little banner enough times that, one of these months I'll definitely play. I mean, I can't let who's it, Jobava or someone win all the time. So I'll definitely be playing that, and I mean, we'll see. I'm sure there will be other events as well. It's a great site.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure, anytime.
Okay, great.